you're going to have those moments in the studio or working on a session where you just have to power through and stay up till 2 or 3 in the morning. But when you can get back onto that routine, start going back to bed early or
Mhm.
getting back into that routine. But there's always going to be those anomalies. Hello and welcome to another episode of the Vana Room.
Woo,
I'm really
woo.
excited for this week's episode. Yes, whoop whoop. We need our little intro song. I'm really excited for this week's episode because it's really kind of a special topic to me and something that I'm very passionate about personally outside of the music industry, and that is mental health.
Mhm.
And we know in the music industry that mental health can be kind of pushed to the side. So we want to talk about some things that have worked for Monique and I as we've progressed through the industry, different things that we've learned and picked up on, and things that have been healthy for us. But before we jump in, I want to kind of throw out a disclaimer that if we mention any companies in this episode, we are not endorsing them or sponsored by them. We just want to share them because they are a resource for you. I'll link all of those in the show notes below as well, so you can check them out and do your research. I always recommend doing your research before signing up for any medical thing, specifically mental health. But they're there, so you can research and look into them yourself to see if they'll work best for you. We are also not licensed mental health professionals, so these are just purely opinions from Monique and I. So don't take any of this as doctoral advice. We are just regular business professionals sharing our tips that have worked for us in our careers.
Yes.
Um, so jumping right in, one of the first things that has worked really well for me and that I actually just started learning about was getting on a sleep schedule. I didn't realize how important this was because I was sleeping in a little bit later than I should have and going to bed too early. So I
Mhm.
was only awake for a certain amount of the day, and I didn't give myself enough time to sleep.
Mhm.
Didn't give myself time to wake up. So now
Mhm.
I've been getting up at like 6:45 every morning and going to bed at 10:30. So then I'm able to keep in that routine and keeping my body and able to sleep, get on a regular sleep schedule, which has helped immensely. We all need sleep to function, and that has helped with everything because it stems from getting a good night's sleep to how you eat, to how you stay motivated, to how you're exercising, and all of that stuff. I found it to be very helpful in doing more podcasts. I found it to be helpful in motivating me to do my music and all that
Mhm.
stuff. So getting on a sleep schedule has been very, very important for me.
And I know it's easier said than done when we talk about these things, especially for people in the music industry, the creative people, because
Yes.
they like to work late at night, so they aren't sleeping when everybody else is sleeping. Sometimes when you're in the studio for hours or days, and um, I think with those kind of crazy hours, you have to allow yourself time to sneak in a 30-minute nap. Your brain has to rest. Your body has to heal. When you're sleeping, that's when your body takes time to recover from
Mhm.
all the beating up that you've done to it throughout the day, or during your waking hours. So I can't stress this enough. Not to mention, if you've ever met somebody who has stayed up for like 2 or 3 straight days, not only do they look horrible, but they aren't making any sense. They're just not functioning well. Um, that's the worst thing you could do for your creative process is not be in the right state of mind, right?
Mhm.
Or if you're on tour, find time to sleep. But a sleep
Mhm.
schedule is clutch, and I actually set alarms on my phone. So one of the things I find with a lot of the creatives that I worked with is that holding yourself accountable for these changes is difficult because they're so used to participating in bad habits. So
Mhm.
use the tools that are available to you. Set a block of time in your calendar and then set an alarm for it. That way, when it goes off, you're reminded, okay, this is the time I need to stop and do X, Y, and Z because this is the time I blocked off for it. And then, you're going to fall off every once in a while, but you need to do your best to stay on that schedule, and
Mhm.
then it'll start becoming routine. And that's what
Mhm.
a lot of people in this industry need is a routine that is a healthy routine. And sleep is part of your healthy routine.
Absolutely. Yeah, I stayed up all for almost 40 to almost 2 days when I did my
Mm.
road trip a few months ago.
Oh
And
my
towards the
gosh.
end of it, I was starting to see like faces and stuff on people's trucks and the backs of people's
Mhm.
cars. And then when
Yeah.
I got home, I was like, it's not a fun state to be in, and just
Mhm.
pushing yourself through that is consistently is not healthy. And
Mhm.
obviously, like you said, you're going to have those moments in the studio or working on a session where you just have to power through and stay up till 2 or 3 in the morning. But when you can get back onto that routine, start going back to bed early or
Mhm.
getting back into that routine. But there's always going to be those anomalies.
Yeah, and then, the moments where, maybe your alarm goes off and that's when you're supposed to take your nap, but you're in the middle of something. Acknowledge that, but remember to work that nap back in.
Hmm.
Like don't just cancel it all together. You need to go, okay, I'm still in the middle of this. As soon as we're done with this, then I'll go ahead and take my little 30-minute nap. You set your alarm for 30 minutes and that little power nap will do you miracles.
Hmm.
If you sneak a couple little 30-minute naps in throughout the day, I do it now. Like
Yeah.
I start my day super early in the morning, but sometimes by the afternoon, my brain is like, shut it down. And so I'll
Hmm.
sneak in a quick 30-minute nap and then I'll pop up and then start doing whatever the next task is until about 10, 11 o'clock. And then it's time for bed.
Yeah. Great. That's great.
Mhm.
Cool. Anything else on sleep?
Um, be careful with sleep aids. Um,
Mm,
I as we have seen from sadly many artists who use substances to help them sleep, if they're not prescribed to you, then don't use them. And if they are prescribed to you, use them as they are prescribed. And if they're not
mhm,
working, then communicate that to your health professional. But do not take it upon yourself to increase your own dosage or add something else to what you've already taken, because that could be a life-ending decision. So
mm,
if you're really struggling that bad with sleep, then you need to go speak to a professional and really figure out what's going on.
mhm.
But don't
Absolutely.
over medicate yourself.
Oh, don't over medicate and don't just stop taking a medication
Right, and
because you
don't
don't
just
feel like
stop.
you need.
Mhm.
You need to talk to your doctor about these things,
Right.
and they can go through the withdrawals and side effects of doing that, and if that's in your best interest.
Mhm. Absolutely.
Mhm.
All right. Well, I
Cool.
guess I'll throw one of mine out there.
Yes.
Um, let's see. Well, uh, let's talk about setting boundaries. I think
Mm,
that's really important. And by the way, we're not talking about these in any particular order. Like this is something that's very serious and close to both Lennon and my heart. And
mhm,
we felt like it was really necessary to make sure we address this because independent artists, which are who most of our audience is, and even if you are an established artist and you happen to stumble upon our podcast, welcome. Um,
yes,
um,
welcome.
yeah, right. As independent artists are trying to get into the industry, many are working so hard that they start to adapt bad habits, and they allow people and various outside influences into their life that shouldn't be there. And so setting boundaries is super important. If you're tired, you speak your truth. I'm tired, and then that's when you take your break.
Mhm,
If people are pushing you too hard, then maybe those people don't need to be in your circle. And that is another thing that a lot of people struggle with, especially as their career begins to take off and
mhm,
they start to become more popular, or they start making more appearances. There's somebody that's been with them since day one, their day one, right?
mhm,
And I get it, but if that person is toxic, then you need to let that person go. If there are other toxic influences like negative family members or a negative significant other, or a significant other going through a mental health crisis, you need to all you need to do is suggest or help them find the help that they need, but it's not your job to heal them. So when I say boundaries, I'm not even just talking about the boundaries for other people. I'm talking about your own boundaries as well. You have to know
mhm,
when to stay in your lane. you have to know that, don't get this God complex where you think you can fix everybody. That's not your job. And nor are you, most of you may not be educated in that field. So cutting out toxic people is and setting boundaries is huge. Um,
Mhm.
I just can't stress that enough. I honestly, that's in if I had to put something in order, that would probably be in like my top 5, maybe even my top
Mhm.
3 for
I
sure.
agree. I
Mhm.
agree. And learning to set boundaries and how to like figure out what your boundaries are is very difficult.
Yeah.
And it takes time, but you have to find these people and surround yourself with people who understand what boundaries are and will allow you to set healthy boundaries. And you'll know who these people are because you feel safe and you feel comfortable around these people.
Mhm.
But for example, if a musician comes to you and they ask you to do something for free, and you say, "Look, I would love to help you with your project. Unfortunately, I'm going to have to be paid," rather than just being a yes person and taking that on because
Mhm.
exposure doesn't pay the bills, um, unfortunately. So that would be an example of a very simple boundary is not being a yes person and really evaluating what it is that you need and what it is that you want. And if you're not able or wanting or willing to take on a free gig at this time, then you have that right to communicate that. Look, I'm unfortunately going to have to turn this down, and that just makes you a stronger professional because you know what you're worth. And
Mhm.
again, this all takes a lot of time. It's taken me 3 years to really understand these concepts. So
Mhm.
I encourage you to really learn how boundaries are. And one of the best places to this is going to finding a therapist or a psychiatrist and really learning how these functions to understand how to sift through these emotions.
And I think one of the things you said is really important. You said, some people don't know how to set boundaries or when. I'll tell you when to set a boundary. The minute you feel uncomfortable,
Yes.
that is your boundary. Now you know what
Mhm.
your breaking point is. So that is where you draw the minute something makes you feel uncomfortable, that's your boundary. And you
Mhm.
got to be careful of people who will try to manipulate you. And because the people who aren't happy about your boundaries are the people who need them the most. So you need to remember
Mhm.
when you set that boundary, and then when somebody starts pushing back and you're feeling uncomfortable, that is your boundary. And do not
Mhm.
feel bad about being like, I said no. And that's another thing. I just want to add that in there too is no by itself is a response. You
Mhm.
don't have to add an explanation. If that no is coming from a place deep within where that no makes you feel better, then you say no, period. That is the end of the
Mhm.
sentence. You don't owe everybody an explanation. You really don't owe
Mhm.
anybody an explanation. The answer is
Mhm.
no. And then you move on to the next thing.
Mhm.
And don't feel bad about that. That takes a while too. I understand, but practice makes perfect. So when you
Mhm.
find yourself in those situations, you say no. And you can say no with a smile. No, but thank you. So what
Mhm.
else we got to do today?
Mhm.
Right? Everything
Exactly.
doesn't have to be a confrontation. Everything does not have to be awkward. It's just a no.
Mhm.
And you don't have to give everybody a reason. So
Mhm.
understand that no by itself is an answer.
Mhm. Yeah, and once you say no, anything really after that where they try to push and manipulate you is just excess information because it's not they're trying to get you to change your answer, and that shouldn't happen. No means no, and you don't owe anybody. Well, why not? Why can't you do it?
Mhm.
Well, can you do this tomorrow? No, I don't feel comfortable doing this.
Mhm.
That's a really good example. Good point.
Mhm.
Anything else on boundaries and communication?
No. I mean, I don't wanna beat a dead horse. I think we we made
Yeah.
our point, and obviously,
Yeah, yeah.
down in the comments, if you guys wanna chime in, we always read any comments or any emails that we get. So if you
Mhm.
wanna chime in, you have suggestions, by all means, leave us a message, and we will definitely do some follow-up episodes. We would love to do that.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely, and I think
Mhm.
boundaries alone could be their own episode.
Oh, heck yeah.
Um, Heck yeah. Heck yeah. Um, so going on to the next point, which I kind of briefly mentioned, is for me, I've went to therapy for the last 2.5 years and also psychiatry. So one of them helps psychiatry helps with my medication and helps kind of bring me down to a state. And then therapy is where when I'm in that state from the medication, I'm able to really sort through my thoughts and understand where I'm going and then communicate effectively. So
Mhm.
I've really learned to set boundaries with family members, with friends, with work professionals, with everybody, and then understanding what my worth is. Like I'm worth something
Mhm.
and my time and talents are worth something.
Mhm.
And that has taken a long time to do. And then going through psychiatry, which they've helped me with my sleep, it has helped with the medication. Sometimes medication doesn't work, but that's an avenue that is available if you want to explore it. And all these things can be communicated to your psychiatrist if you say, I'm a little nervous about taking medication. I'm a little nervous about this. I'm scared because of XYZ. They will work with you on these types of things. But these two things, therapy and psychiatry, have helped me immensely understand my worth, understanding where my emotions and my feelings are, and then understanding where my limits are because I used to be strictly a yes person
Mhm.
and it got me nowhere except
Mhm.
for really, really, really high functioning anxiety to a point where when I was going to school, I was eating like a granola bar every 2 days. That's all I was eating. And I come to find out that it was my anxiety was so high I wasn't able to eat.
Mhm. Yeah, therapy is huge. I would definitely say seek out a therapist if you feel like you're just not getting anywhere with any other efforts. And I will say this about therapy. Really take advantage of the opportunity because you're speaking to a person who is unbiased. They don't know your
Yes.
situation, they only know what you're telling them. And with that being said, be honest. Like, don't
Yep.
go into therapy and lie. That's not helping you. If you really
No.
are trying to get help, then don't hold back. Let it out and let that person help you because this is an unbiased professional who can help steer you in whatever direction is best for you or help you unpack all these things that you're feeling without being a family member or a friend that is more biased. So I definitely say if you're going to do therapy, then make sure you're getting the most out because therapy is not cheap either.
Mm-mm.
And though I'm sure there are some medical programs out there that could help you pay for therapy, um, make it worth your while. If you're going to go through all of that, then make it worth your while. And then
Mhm.
as far as medication is concerned, me personally, I'm not a big fan of medication, but I
Me
understand
neither.
that there are some people that need that extra help. So again, to what I was saying before, just make sure you use it according to how it's prescribed to you. And then, if you have an addictive personality, I would communicate that to your health professional to maybe try. Then maybe they can put you on a placebo first and just make sure like it's not just you being a hypochondriac or talking yourself into needing this medication. But I
Mhm.
would definitely communicate any other personality traits that could hinder the progress with medication to
Mhm.
your health professional. So yeah, therapy, whatever you need, but just make sure you go to a professional and you handle it right. Because the whole point is for you to do better, for you to come out better.
Mhm.
Um, I watched an interview with Sia, and she was talking about how, she had an addiction to alcohol and then she got addicted to Oxycontin.
Mm.
And then she got herself into a 12-step program
Mm.
and it changed her life. Like she was really open about it. And I'm so happy to see these other musicians and celebrities and artists who have overcome their addictions reach out or at least be transparent with everyone about their issues. I'm not going to
Mm.
name this particular rock and roller by name, but there is a lead singer of a very popular band that is a recovering addict, and they were in Orlando. This was several years ago. Um, and he popped into a was it a narcotics anonymous kind of meeting, kind of like Alcoholics Anonymous, but it was for narcotics. And he popped into the meeting and he sat there just like everybody else and participated, and I was like, there was no cameras there. There was no, press announcement about it. He took it upon himself to just attend this meeting and be there with other recovering addicts. And I just thought I think that's so important to the conversation for a lot of these up and coming artists that start to find themselves heading in that direction. So,
Mm.
yeah, so definitely talk to a therapist, find a support group. If
Yes.
therapy is not your thing, maybe getting into a support group might help first. And then maybe somebody in that support group can help you find a therapist.
Hmm. Absolutely, and I wanna ish two things that were very key to me is, one, you have to, with any professional that you work with, specifically doctors, you have to be comfortable around them. How do they make you feel? Do you feel
Mhm.
safe around them? Are you able to communicate your deepest, darkest secrets to them and not feel judged?
Mhm.
And like you said, don't go in and lie. If you're going to do the route of therapy, don't go in and lie to them. This person is totally unbiased. They're there and specifically trained to help you. So this is a place to test yourself. Talk about something that makes you slightly uncomfortable to maybe even your friends or really close friends, something that would make you uncomfortable. Talk about it with your therapist, because that is the person to do it, to work through why you're uncomfortable.
Mhm.
And also, like you said, therapists can be expensive. So this is the time for you. I look at them similar to lawyers. You wouldn't go in and just talk to a lawyer about and lie to a lawyer about a whole situation when you're paying $300 an hour. No,
Mhm.
you would be truthful and honest because it's only going to be helpful for you in the long run.
Right.
Um, and that's so, so, so important. Um, I don't know why I thought of this, but recently, a little bit of a sidebar. One thing that I learned was, if you have health insurance, go through your health insurance company, and sometimes they offer additional incentives. Like, my insurance company offers a year of Headspace premium for free.
Oh.
So there's Headspace, there's Calm, there's all kinds of different mobile apps that help with like meditation. They have different relaxing sounds. They have different like exercises and breathing exercises. Your insurance company may provide that through, but they
Mhm.
don't obviously tell you because they don't want you to know that. But that may be a helpful resource for you to start getting on a routine of meditation and working through some. They have nighttime stories that are like 45 minutes long, and
Mhm.
I found it to be very helpful for that as well, so that might be
Mhm.
worth looking into as well.
And we have a lot of things that we could talk about on this particular subject, and I know we're going to end our episode here soon, but we cannot end this episode without talking about really the two things that go together that in my opinion should be number 1 on the list, and that is diet and exercise. What you feed your
Mm,
body is I that is your fuel. And if you're just loading up on
mm.
sugar drinks and junk food and fattening stuff, just things that as Lennon drinks a Pepsi. Thanks a lot, Lennon.
As I drink Pepsi.
Not that Pepsi's bad for you, just saying. It is a carbonated drink, nothing against Pepsi. Nobody showed us
No,
the
I
Pepsi.
no,
Um,
I agree.
but yeah, diet and exercise is so important. You got to eat right, y'all. Eating burgers and fries every day. And I know sometimes you're on the run. Even I do it. Like I'll be on the run and I'm like, I'm starving right now. I should have grabbed snacks. So be smart. Carry like cut up fruit with you. Put it in a little lunch bag with a little ice packet in it, or nuts if you're not allergic to nuts. Find something you're not allergic to snack on. The whole point is
Mhm,
not to starve yourself throughout the whole day.
mhm,
Um, Eat small meals throughout the day. And I know it sounds easier said than done because I've been there. I am guilty of it myself. There are times when I get up, I have breakfast, and then I don't eat again till like 6, 7 o'clock at night just because my day is going, going, going.
mhm.
And I regret that. Like, I'm not happy about that at all. So I don't do it every day. So therein lies the solution, is to make sure I stay on top of it. So on the days when I'm really on top of things, I make sure I have like a little bag of peanuts, or I carry a banana or an orange, or, just something to snack on. So I'm not ready to eat the steering wheel off my car.
Yeah,
Um, right. And
yeah,
then exercise, make your body strong. Because the other thing that you're fighting against is not just your diet, but it's anything that's genetic. If diabetes runs in your family, if heart disease runs in your family, any of these things that are genetic, in addition to your already bad eating habit, you're just making those your genetic predisposition to these things worse.
Mhm.
So fight that generational curse as much as you can. And exercise is great for you. If you're a performer, there's performers out there that are all over the stage and great for them. But there's some people that you know, they do the least amount of movement. If you're not going to move a lot on stage, then get your butt on a treadmill or something. Go for a walk. It doesn't have to be going to the gym. Um, Most of you guys
Wow.
that we are talking to can't afford a trainer. That's understandable, but you can find time to go take a walk. If you have a bicycle, go ride your bike. One of the things that I do, because I hate going to the gym, I got rid of my gym membership. I was wasting money. So what I did is when I watch TV, every time the commercials come on, I jump on the floor, I'll do crunches, I'll see how long
Mm.
I can hold a plank. I'll just do some high knees, or I got all sorts of workout equipment at the house, but on the commercial, cuz commercials are usually about 3 minutes long. If you figure they probably do about what, 3 or 4 commercial breaks, that's 12, 15 minutes of exercise. If you get up during the commercial and just move during the commercial, then you're getting some movement in.
Mhm.
And there's all sorts of videos online for people who are for beginners working out, what have you. But your diet and exercise and your sleep, which we already mentioned, those three things work hand in hand. So you got to get that on. You got to get that together. Get it together,
Mhm.
folks.
Absolutely. And I think just exercising, just even getting up in the morning and walking at 7 in the morning. I walk with a friend and then my partner. We walk like 2.6 miles every day.
Hmm.
And that really kind of
Good for you.
jumpstarts my morning. I come back sweating and it's just like I'm just ready. The blood has been going. I'm just ready to start the day, and it wakes me up. I jump in the shower. It just wakes me up for the day, and I
Hmm.
feel
Now,
much more
not everybody
energetic.
is a morning person. We acknowledge that.
No,
So,
I agree.
if you're,
No, I'm
because
not.
Lennon and I are weird, Lennon's on a whole nother coast, and I'm texting him at my, in my time zone, and he has the audacity to reply. I'm like, is he really up right now?
I think I was messaging you at like 4:30 this morning.
Yeah, I was like, did he really just reply?
Yeah.
But yeah, so I acknowledge that everybody's not a morning person like we are, but still, you can move at night. You can move at night. If there's a park near
Mhm.
you that's not dark and creepy, then do that. Walk around your neighborhood, walk through your apartment complex. Um, do some burpees or something. I don't know. I hate burpees, but
I do
um
too. Yeah.
something, you know what I mean? Like the whole point is to get your body moving. You got to get your
Mhm.
blood flowing. You don't want to have blood clots. You don't want to, you know what I mean? Like the fatigue is the worst. You want
Mhm.
that energy. The food and the exercise help you with your energy. And
Mhm.
those of you that sing know your energy is important to breath control when you're singing.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? So even for me
Mhm.
in broadcasting, when I first started in radio, there were a lot of people in this industry that were overweight. And that's because our whole career
Mhm.
is sitting behind a microphone. So they really
Ah.
weren't doing much to take care of themselves. And working in broadcast, we have to control our breath too when we're talking. Much like a
Mm.
singer, you
Yeah.
you you control your diaphragm. And so if you're going to call yourself an artist and a performer, you got to be able to last a 2-hour performance. Like if you go on tour, or, your audience is coming to, they don't want to see you huffing and puffing all over the stage. That's not what they
Mm-mm.
paid for,
Mm-mm.
So diet and exercise, definitely.
Mhm. Absolutely. Just walk around, like you said, walk around your apartment complex, walk up and down the stairs, walk around your yard for God's sakes if you have a house. Just walk around the yard or walk up and down the sidewalk. Those are all really good examples. We talked about getting on a sleep schedule, we talked about therapy, psychiatry, we talked about some medication, we talked about boundaries and communication, and then we talked about eating healthy and dieting.
Mhm.
and then exercise. All very important topics. We are
Mhm.
working to get a health professional on to go more in depth with a lot of these topics, and then potentially provide some additional information as well about
Mhm.
all this. So we will hopefully have that on. Hopefully, have somebody on soon with that episode.
I just wanna say take care of yourself and
Mm,
make yourself a priority. As much as you wanna be a part of this industry, for your profession, for for your career, longevity is key, and you wanna be
mhm,
here for a while to entertain your audience, your potential audience if you're still growing your audience. So, take care of yourself, make yourself a priority, and, try to do what's best for you. And if people close to you who really love you are trying to communicate, um, healthier options for you, I know part of your defense mechanism is to push back and snap at them and yell and whatever. Just remember these are people that actually care about you and they're trying to get you to do better because they know you can
mhm,
do better. And you have to
mhm,
believe that you can do better. So stop fighting.
mhm,
But take care
mhm,
of yourself. That's the main thing. And like Lennon said, hopefully we'll have a professional on. And if you guys want to comment, leave us suggestions, please do so down in the chat area. Remember to subscribe if you haven't subscribed already. Share our podcast with somebody that you think could really use to hear some of the things that we talk about. So, like, share, subscribe, guys. Come on, do that for us.
mhm. That really helps the show out.
Hmm.
And yeah, so thank you for tuning into this week's episode. We'll see you all next week on next week's episode of The Von Room.
Bye.